Much of your work is now trying to bring people together in 3D. And I saw this as I was on your website earlier on today. I was looking at some of your upcoming initiatives. One in particular was this walk that you're doing, which I found really, really interesting. This is the first ever global walk that will take place on Saturday, September the 23rd, 2023, this year. All the details are at walkforthe.world, so www.walkforthe.world. And I was reading about why you're doing this, and the words community came up. The words illusion of separation came up.
Yeah. I think, if you study the peace gathering projects that have been done, peer-reviewed articles of peace gathering projects, when people come into a community, they meditate on peace, a city. The crime rates go down, violence goes down, car crashes, car accidents go down, economic growth goes up. Somehow there's a change in the collective. But when the meditation ends and the peace gathering project ends, the crime rate returns back to the same, the car accidents and the violence return back to the same ceiling value as it was before. It's not enough to just pray. It's time to be the prayer, right? So walking meditation we do in our community, and we do a lot of them because you got to be able to walk as it. You got to be able to do it with your eyes open. Doing it with your eyes closed is a practice so you can do it with your eyes open, so you can demonstrate it, demonstrate peace, demonstrate love, demonstrate change for the world. And so the walking meditations, there's 4 types of meditations. There's a seated meditation. We do a lot of that, and that's traditional. There's a standing and walking meditation, and there's a lying down meditation. We teach all of those. But the standing and walking meditation is a great way to stand up for the world and decide, if I change and have enough of us change, we could actually change the world. So meditation starts with our eyes closed, standing up with our eyes closed and getting into an altered state. Music changes, we open our eyes and we walk as that change. We embody that change. We live that change. We think about what we're going to leave behind for a new world. What if I change? What would be, am I part of the whole? Could I affect the whole? And so a person walks for a period of time, they stop again, they close their eyes, they recalibrate, they get back in that feeling, they open their eyes and they walk again. And so walking meditation is a great way for thousands and thousands of people from around the world to walk for change in the world. And we have such compelling data about collective networks of observers with brain and heart coherence, that somehow when you have a random event generator in our ballrooms and people change their state and they have an intention, that random events become less random and more intentional. In other words, a machine that's programmed to toss a coin 1,000 times a second, multiple times a second. The more you toss a coin, the more you're going to get 50-50, right? So if you have a machine in the room and nobody's in the room, you see just kind of this line stay right around the 50-50 mark. But when you fill that room with people and they change their state and they have an intention, all of a sudden you see that line break way out of normal. And a programmed machine that's normally flipping zeros and ones starts behaving very differently. It tells us that collective networks begin to determine reality. And it's not the number of people, it's not the amount of energy. You can have entropic energy. It's the most coherent group of people. So if we come together on one day, and this will be one of many walks, you leave everything behind. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your coworkers, bring your neighbors. You never have to have done a meditation before. We'll guide people through it. We'll give them the MP3 file. And we have just over 800 or 900 cities now from around the world that are from people from around the world that are participating, and the numbers are growing. So we don't know where it'll go, but it's our first attempt to just say, if we just can move the needle 1 degree and off that trajectory, off that timeline, just in another timeline, then it served its purpose. So yeah, we're excited about it. It's the first one, and hopefully we'll do some more.
I'll put all the details below, wherever you're listening to this, so you can check it out. I was wondering as you were speaking, Joe, I was asking myself, you're someone that's constantly doing research and developing new ideas and hypotheses about the world and the way humans are and the way the universe is. Do there exist beliefs in your head that you're too scared to share?
You mean beliefs that I have that are from experience? or beliefs that I have that are conjecturous?
Either. Both.
Yeah, I have a very strong belief that the probability of us seeing the truth in reality is zero. I think that we perceive less than 1% of reality. The brain is missing out on a lot of data. And I think that we should never exclude ourselves from the unknown. I think there's a whole part of the unknown self that we're unaware of, that I think exists beyond linear time and space. And I do believe that it's real.
And you don't know what that is?
Oh, I do, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a realm beyond space and time that I think, your eye right now is perceiving a very small spectrum of frequency, a visible light. It's a very tiny slice in the electromagnetic spectrum. And that visible light, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet, is actually bouncing off of the slowest and most stable form of energy called matter. And that gives us this perception of separation, right? Well, that small spectrum is less than 1% of what we actually can perceive. So I think that our senses plug us into reality, into three-dimensional reality. But I think there are realities that exist beyond space and time that we're unaware of.
That we can tap into?
Yeah, I do. And I think there are latent systems in the brain that once activated allows the brain to transduce that energy, that frequency into profound information.
Do psychedelics drugs work in that way?
I think psychedelics give a person a perception of reality that's beyond three-dimensional reality. We're discovering that the nervous system makes its own pharmacy of psychedelics. In fact, we have really recent data that shows that many people that have a mystical experience in our work, that have fMRIs, look like they're on psilocybin. Yeah. And yet your nervous system's making that natural chemical endogenously.
And how were those mystical experiences triggered?
I'll give you the short version.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tiny little gland in the back of your brain called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland has tiny little crystals inside of it that are stacked up on top of each other, rhombohedron in shape. And that little tiny gland acts like a radio receiver for electromagnetic frequencies. And when those crystals can become activated, like a radio receiver, they can pick up frequencies that are beyond your senses, the quantum. And they can transduce, it's called a transducer, it can transduce that frequency like a TV antenna into profound imagery, a very full-on sensory experience without your senses.
Interesting. Explains a lot. My girlfriend always talks to me about the pineal gland and DMT and the power of everything you've just described. I just want to remain open-minded, because being closed-minded at any point in my life is not conducive with progress and growth. So my desire in doing this podcast generally is just to learn from people that have new perspectives on the nature of the world, and to remain